Alright guys, it is Kieran from Red Devil Weekly, and before you say it, yeah, I do know for you guys watching live, it is a lot earlier than I usually go live, and that was because I wasn't able to do a match preview yesterday. Usually I do it the day before the game, but it's kind of nice to do it as a little bit of a pre-match build-up stream, if you know what I mean. So it's a bit of a different take, a bit of a different feel to it, but hopefully we'll have a good stream as well. I'm not expecting loads of people to be here, obviously, because it's a bit earlier than usual. But if you are watching as a video, please do let me know your thoughts and predictions going into this one in the comment section down below. And also, if you're watching and you are new to the channel, subscribe if you are new. We are only 4 subscribers away from 870 subscribers now, so anything you guys can do to help us out with that would be absolutely amazing. But Crystal Palace United is the game we're talking about, an 8:15 kickoff on Wednesday, which is tonight. And to be honest with you guys, after the way we played against Chelsea, the fact we were, just a lack of clinicality. We weren't very good in front of goal. That's the area we need to fix up on, I think. In terms of defending, I think we look alright. But going into this game, my main concern for Manchester United is whether we actually take our chances in front of goal. That's the main thing. But we're going to get into the preview, and we always start by talking about Crystal Palace. So we'll get into that. Just seeing a few people have joined us. Welcome, Jamie. Thanks for joining as always, mate. Appreciate it. It's a tough game tonight. Need 3 points. It is. It's a vital game tonight. You know, realistically, we've got the short. I mean, if you look at top 4, the teams around us are kind of circling a little bit. We are, yes, 6 points inside the top 4, but it's not going to be easy to keep that, especially with the season being up and down as it is. So we need to make sure we win the games that we're expected to win, and that's something which we didn't really do last season. We were winning games we weren't expected to win, and then dropping points in games we were actually expected to win. So I think we need to do that, and this season we've done all right at that, but away from home against Crystal Palace isn't the easiest fixture, even though they're not having the better seasons by their standards, and they have got a few injuries coming into the game. You still think that they love the top 6 sides coming to Selhurst Park. They love that challenge. And that's the one thing that worries me a little bit, to be honest, about tonight's game, is that they might just get up for it. They might just put in an absolutely sterling performance, and then the next week do the classic thing of, lose their next game. And I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't be surprised. Owen's joining us. Thank you for joining. As I miss the times we were first and every game was a walk in the park. I think we all miss those times, mate. But you know what? This is what being a football fan's about. Supporting your club through thick and thin. Being a supporter no matter what, no matter how much you're winning or how much you're losing. Just supporting your team. And obviously people talk about United fans being glory hunters, but realistically we haven't had too much glory to shout about in the last kind of 7 or 8 years. So really, if you stuck with Man United through that period, I don't see you as a glory hunter, because if you're a true glory hunter, you would have moved on to someone like Liverpool or Chelsea or Man City. So if you stuck with United through the post-Sir Alex Ferguson years, I can't call you a glory hunter, to be honest, and I wouldn't call any United fan a glory hunter anyway, because it's just stupid. Jamie's 11 says De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Lindelof, Shaw, Fred, Matic, James, Fernandes, Rashford and Cavani in a 4-2-3-1. Yeah, listen, I'm very happy Cavani's come back into the side. I'll keep that up, actually. I'm very happy that Cavani looks to be fit for this game. We've missed him, man. We've missed Cavani up front. I mean, the lack of a lack of just a clinical edge to our play going forward. We just seem to lack ideas. And even though we beat Newcastle 3-1 at home, apart from that game, we haven't really looked that threatening going forward. We've had a couple of 0-0s, and it's one of those things where, as I always say, we can beat anyone if we're clinical. We really can, anyone in the world. But recently, I don't think that we have been. I think we've been, poor in front of goal, especially in that game against Chelsea. We've been really poor in front of goal. Rich, thanks for joining. I know you're at work, so thanks for joining. Love the dedication. Thank you very much. Make sure to check out Rich Sports as well if you haven't already. Great stuff on there. But yeah, cheers. Obviously, you only see my mouth move, so hopefully this can improve your lip reading a little bit. But yeah, cheers for joining, Rich. Appreciate it. Kobe says, hey, thanks for joining, Kobe, as well. Really do appreciate it. But as I said, this is a stream, before we get into the Crystal Palace part of this is a stream that I don't usually do this early. To be honest with you, you guys that watch the channel regularly will know that I usually do it. I usually do these sorts of streams kind of the day before, and obviously today I haven't really been able to do that, or yesterday I wasn't able to do that because I was doing my uni coursework, and hopefully we get that out of the way. And I got that, I handed in the assessment actually yesterday, so I've got that out of the way, so I'm kind of thought, you know what, I'll do it now as a bit of a pre-match build-up stream. So hopefully, you guys enjoy that. But I'll probably be back to doing previews the day before for the next game. But yeah, Daz has joined us as well. Thanks for joining, Daz. I appreciate it. Says, hope we win this game, but wouldn't be too shocked if we don't win because our inconsistent results as of late. Exactly. I think, that's the thing that worries me. And not only that, but the fact that Crystal Palace love playing against the top 6 sides. They've got a great record. Not even just this season, historically, playing the top 6 sides, they've got a very good record, and they're very, very good at frustrating you. And that's something that I think Crystal Palace are going to look to do, especially under Roy Hodgson. And they've got some results that really they had no business of getting, and fair play to them. I'm not saying that, they kind of robbed it, but that game against Brighton, obviously the rivalry they have with Brighton, it's a big game, and, they robbed 3 points, really, a 2-1 win. I think they had like 2 shots on target. Brian had about 20 odd shots. Absolutely ridiculous. But this is the danger with Palace, is that they can have those sorts of games where they might not play the best game, but they just nick a goal here or there, or they just about hang on, keep the lead for as long as possible, and then come away with a draw. This is the sort of thing that I am worried about. But they do have injuries. They do have players missing, as Rich states here. Palace missing a few players. We're going to have to be pretty poor to lose. Well, I hope that's not famous last words, Rich. I hope that's not famous last words, or things that age poorly, whatever that Twitter account is. But yeah, I'm hoping that you're right, and I'm hoping that the fact they do have players injured means we'll be able to exploit that. Kobe says, Mateta is one to watch. Of course, their new striker, I think, was he from the French league, or is he just French? I'm not sure. I think he's either from the French league or he's French. But he obviously got a goal against Brighton, and yeah, he's definitely one to watch for them. Obviously, a lot of the play is going to go through him, especially with the injuries they have. And the big thing for Palace for me is no Wilfried Zaha. He played fantastically well in the first game at Old Trafford, first game of the season actually, which obviously didn't get our season off to the best of starts, but he did play well in that game. I think he got a goal and assist, and he's been really, for most of Palace's seasons in the Premier League, he's been their beacon of light. Hasn't got the move that maybe he wanted, or maybe he didn't want. Obviously he signed a new deal and stuff, but I'm not sure whether a player like Zaha really would have wanted to stay at Palace for his whole career. I'm not sure whether he would have really wanted to do that. Obviously, I'm not Zaha, so I can't, 100% confirm that. But for me, I just think if you've got that sort of talent, you'd be wanting to prove it in the Champions League, in the biggest teams in world football. And I think Zaha could do that. But he is obviously not playing in this game, so that is a big plus for us, and a blow to Crystal Palace, really. Most undeserved win ever. Yeah, fair. I think that's a fair comment. Does says we could absolutely dominate them all game and still not win. Can't take these too lightly. Exactly, Daryl. I mean, as I said, I totally agree with what you're saying. This is the thing with Palace, is they're so they're a team that can perform really poorly one week and then actually do well the next, and they're very unpredictable. What I would say is, obviously, what Rich is saying there is because they've got players out, you would say that, we're strong favourites to get all 3 points here, especially with the fact that we've got the boost of some players coming back from injury. But at the same time, going away from home against Crystal Palace is never easy. It never is easy. Even though they don't have, the sort of fans and the great crowd that they usually have at Selhurst Park, the atmosphere won't be as intimidating, but they're still not a bad footballing side. I mean, I know they're 13th in the league this season. They drew 0-0 to Fulham in their last game, I think, which is pretty poor going, considering how Fulham are doing this season. Yeah, they drew 0-0 at home to Fulham. They beat Newcastle, actually beat Wolves, lost to West Ham, lost to City, drew with Arsenal at the Emirates, then lost to Wolves. So, I mean, they've had a bit of an up and down season in terms of results. They've had an up and down season in terms of results, I think. They've won some games that, looking at it on paper, you think they shouldn't be winning them. But they've also dropped points in games where you're thinking, really, they should be winning that sort of game. Fulham at home, for example, that is a sort of game that really a team like Crystal Palace should be winning that game. So I think Crystal Palace fans would agree their season has been up and down. Some would probably be on the side of it's been mostly down, and some people would probably be a bit more optimistic. So it all depends on what side of the fence you come down on that one. Rich says, then again, we were a pretty poor first game of the season. Yeah, we were. I mean, this is the thing, is that you could argue that, I'm not going to take anything away from Palace. Obviously, they deserved to win that game 100%. We never showed up. Palace were a far better team in that game. So I'm not taking anything away from Crystal Palace in the opening day of the season or what happened on the opening day of the season. But, maybe the way we've responded to that suggests that if we actually had a proper pre-season, we would have given them more of a game. We would have looked a lot better. If you look at the results we've had since then, especially against the lower sides this season, I think you could argue that we would have probably got a better result than we did. But alas, it's gone now. We can't do anything about that. That's why we just got to avenge it in tonight's performance. We just got to, say, you know what? I know you beat us at Old Trafford. We're going to show you what we can really do. Continue that away record as well. And then going into that City game, it's a big one. It's a massive game. But if we can win this game, it means that City game, there's a little bit less pressure on it. Yes, it's a derby against City, but if we win this game, it does mean that we could potentially put some more distance between us and our rest of the top four rivals before we play City, which a lot of people are already chalking down as an L. So we need to get this win. We really, really do. Rich says, Dan James in your lineup. It's a good question. It's difficult to say because I actually think he played well against Chelsea, and recently he has played well. Although one thing I would say is that Crystal Palace under Roy Hodgson are the type of team that really do want to sit deep. And with Daniel James, in the side, is he going to be nullified by that? We've seen in previous games that he has been nullified by defences that have liked to sit really far back and have been really compact. And Crystal Palace can do that. I'm not sure how many of their injuries are actually to defenders. I think most of them are to midfielders or forwards. But Palace, they're not a bad side, but what I would say is that, if Daniel James is in the team, I'm sure he'll put in a shift. But I just think horses for courses really is this Daniel James's course, if you know what I mean. I think he's much better against sides that push up. I thought against Chelsea he actually did all right. And I actually thought against Sociedad he played well. So, I think for Daniel James, the best thing is when a team presses high. If a team presses high, leaves that space in behind, he really looks good. He can really exploit it. He can also put in a cross as well, which is great because you can play the ball down the line, get bodies in the box, and he makes chances. But against a team that sits back a little bit, doesn't let you have much space in behind, I'm not sure how threatening Daniel James would be. Especially with Cavani coming back into the side, I think Solskjaer will opt to play Cavani, Rashford and Martial as a front three. I would be surprised if it was anything else other than that. But who knows, he might reward Daniel James. He might, because he has been playing well, to be fair to the lad. Dazza goes with a 2-0 win to Crystal Palace. Actually, is that a win to Crystal Palace or United? Let me know. He also says, we had an extra week to prepare for the Palace game last time and still lost. Well, exactly. We didn't really have that much for a pre-season. But to be fair, we did have an extra week to prepare because obviously at the start of the season, we went into it basically a game less than everyone else. Because of scheduling. I think we're playing in the Europa League semi-final as well. That obviously messed up our scheduling a little bit. So, yeah, you could argue, 100%, you could argue that we had an extra game to prepare. But then you could also make the argument that, the players had finished that game against, Sevilla, gone out, had the mental fatigue of, having to come home after going out at the semi-final stage, then kind of going on holiday, and then after that coming back and, having one pre-season game and then going into the Premier League, which, famously is one of the most kind of, it's the most high-pressing, just energetic league in the world. It's one of the most demanding leagues in the world to play in. So to do that with pretty well no pre-season is a very big ask. But, there's not too many excuses can be made because they are top-level athletes. Really they should have played better than they did. I'm not, making excuses for them. They should have played much better than they did. But, you could argue a lack of pre-season has led to the fact that we haven't really been too good, or we didn't start too well anyway, but actually the fact we're in second place, even though we are, 10 points behind Man City now, the fact we are actually in second place, you have to give credit to Ole, you have to give credit to the players as well, because it's a very, very difficult schedule. Rich says, same here, but I didn't predict a clean sheet last night because whenever I do, we concede very early. Yeah, no, it's probably good thinking. It's the same sort of thing for me. I feel like I'm probably not going to predict the United win because every time I do, we end up losing, or at least a convincing United win. Every time I say it's going to be a convincing United win, we always end up coming up second best. So that's something I'm wary of, to be honest. So, 2-0 United, says Dazza, and Jamie goes with a draw. I think, yeah, that's fair enough. I think, especially, going up against Palace, as you say, they're not going to be as easy as people think. Even though Palace have got players out, and, they do have some important players out. There's no doubting that, no question. But, realistically, they're going to be up for it. Roy Hodgson always gets his teams up for the big occasion, and I wouldn't be surprised if this Crystal Palace side put in an immense defensive display, kind of the likes that we saw Sheffield United put in. And when we do play against those low blocks that are really organised, really compact, and play well, we do struggle to break them down. We really do struggle. So if Palace can do that, I think they will come away with at least a point. If they do decide to press high, if they do decide to be a bit more adventurous, we will take them down. I obviously it sounds a bit harsh, it sounds a bit cutthroat and ruthless, and I hope the players are ruthless, but, I feel like, if a team ever comes out, leaves space in behind, we're always going to be the favourites because we've got the players in the likes of Rashford, Dan James, Martial, Greenwood to exploit that space in behind. And we're so much better on the counter-attack that if you do leave a lot of players up the field, when we do get the ball and look to counter-attack, we will be dangerous. No doubt about it. So if I was Palace, if I was Roy Hodgson, I would stick with kind of 7 or 8 across the back, really compact, and just aim to not concede. And I'm not saying that, saying that as a slight on Palace, saying that they've got no chance of scoring on the other end, because they do. They've got some talented players, even without Zaha in the team. I just think that their best chance of getting a result is being resolute, because like Sheffield United got the result they did against us at Old Trafford because they defended like warriors. And in the end, we gave up 2 defensive errors and they did well going forward. And that's what Palace, I think, need to do. That's the blueprint for me to beat Manchester United. And I'm really hoping Roy Hodgson isn't watching this, but if he is, then that's the way Palace should be playing if they are gonna beat us. I think if you remain resolute, remain compact, realistically, that's the way you're going to beat Manchester United. Kobe goes with a 3-1 win. Ayew will score for them early, but then Bruno and Cavani will have a madness. I hope so. I mean, that sounds very similar to the Fulham game, actually, where obviously Lookman scored early, and then we came back into it. And we do have a record of going behind away from home, then coming back into it. So it's always good to have that record, just to know that even if you do go behind, even if you do have a little bit of a blip, we know we can come back from it. So hopefully our away record continues, but a 3-1 win would do me very, very nicely. Don't you worry about that. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. Obviously, Jamie's given his lineup. We'll go back to Jamie's lineup up here. Let's see what he said. I can't remember exactly what he said. Here he said, so he went with De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Lindelof, Shaw, Fred, Matic, James Fernandes, Rashford and Cavani in the 4-2-3-1. Now, for me, I think that is very, very close to the lineup I think Ole's going to pick. For some reason, I feel like he might go Eric Bailly in that defence. Now, I know that Lindelof is his favourite. There's no doubting that. Lindelof is definitely Ole's favourite. But I think the one thing that might play on his mind is the Thursday-Sunday schedule we find ourselves in. And the fact we did play, Sunday and we're now playing on the Wednesday, players have only really got 2 days to rest. I wouldn't be surprised if Bailly comes in for Lindelof. I wouldn't be surprised. Really, this is one of the only kind of scenarios where I think Bailly might come in for Lindelof. I think most other times when we're playing Thursday, Sunday, he will stick with the Maguire and Lindelof partnership. But I just think the fact that we play on the Sunday and then we're playing on the Wednesday, there isn't as much time in between. So I wouldn't be surprised if Ole does go with Bailly next to Harry Maguire. I would not be surprised. But other than that, I also think Daniel James might not make it into the lineup. Obviously, Jamie's put him in there, but I'm not sure if Daniel James is going to make it in. I wouldn't be surprised if he puts Martial on that side. But other than that, I think it's a fairly solid lineup. So yeah, you guys get your thoughts in on your lineups as well, and we'll go through that as we go in. Box, thanks for joining. Appreciate it, Box. Hope you're doing well, my friend. By the way, guys, please do hit that like button if you aren't already. If you do enjoy the kind of new style of stream where I'm kind of doing a bit more of a pre-match build-up show, pre-match preview, rather than a preview, the day before, then please do hit that like button if you do enjoy it. And also, if you're watching as a video, make sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section down below as well. Always love engaging with the comments, so please do let me know your thoughts. Owen's join us again. Thanks for joining. Just have a bad feeling we're going to miss Pogba massively tonight. A 0-0 draw. Love the positivity, Owen. Loving the positivity. But yeah, I think we did miss Pogba in that Chelsea game. You know, the lack of creativity. Bruno Fernandes as well, not having his best game, didn't really help us. So I think when Bruno Fernandes is off, you can really see how we miss Paul Pogba, because when you've got both Pogba and Fernandes, it only takes one of them to have a good game for us to be able to create. But when there's only one of them on the pitch and we're looking to them to create every single opportunity, if they have a bad game, we're in trouble. So I think if Fernandes isn't on form, then I definitely think we could miss Fernandes tonight. Kevin, thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Love the channel. 4-0 United. Cheers, Kevin. Appreciate your support, my friend. Really, really do appreciate it. And I love the prediction. 4-0. I love the positivity. I hope you're right. I hope you're right. Kobe says, hope we don't have bloody Stuart Atwell again. Yeah, hopefully we don't have him for a long time. A long, long time. Jamie says, if James is on the bench tonight, means he's starting Sunday. Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. We do have a little bit of a rotation policy. But, yeah, I think if he is on the bench tonight, you could probably put your money on Daniel James starting against City, which, if City do press high, might not be the worst thing. You know, Daniel James in last season's game at the Etihad was probably one of our best players. He looked very, very good. City found it very difficult to handle him, especially on the counter-attack. So it might not be the worst thing to play him against City. Box's team would be Henderson, Williams, Bailly, Maguire, Shaw, Matic, McTominay, Greenwood, Cavani, Rashford and James. So he's gone with Brandon, Williams and Bailly in there. And Henderson in goal. To be honest with you, Box, I think that's a very interesting team. It's good to get a bit of originality as well. But what I would say is I doubt Brandon Williams is going to start. And I doubt Henderson's going to start. But apart from that, all plausible for me. All plausible. Jamie says McTominay rested tonight. Maybe, especially after the kind of injuries he's had. He came back on against Chelsea and really had a poor game by his standards, or his recent standards anyway. So I think really it would have been better maybe to rest McTominay for that Chelsea game, play somebody else in there, like a Donny van de Beek maybe, who's always sitting on the bench. But Ole obviously saw it different and played the McFred unit. Listen, I think, McTominay actually recently hasn't been too bad, but I think this business of playing players when they're clearly injured or they're clearly carrying a knock is just stupid in my opinion. Box says, if we lose today and on Sunday, we'll be 18 points off the title. Yeah, again, after all the positivity in the early part of the year in January when we were top of the league, we're now staring down the barrel, potentially being 18 points off the top spot, which is mental considering how much we were top not even a few months ago. So it shows how up and down this season is. But Man City really have just turned on a new gear. Kobe says, David De Gea, Anwan Bissaka, Maguire, Lindelof, Shaw, McFred, Rashi, Bruno, Cavani, Greenwood and Cavani. Yeah, I think that's probably the similar lineup I'm going to go with. Obviously, I said that Bailly would come in for Lindelof, and I think that Martial probably play ahead of Greenwood. I think if I know Ole, and I think we do know Ole, although you think you know him and then he plays someone random in the team. But if I go on what I think Ole's going to do, I think he will start Martial over Greenwood because he usually does that. But he will sub off Martial midway through the game for Greenwood because kind of like Chelsea's Kovacic for who's the other guy? Kovacic for Jorginho substitution that Sarri would always do. We seem to always have the Martial for Greenwood or Greenwood for Martial. So I think that's probably what's going to happen. But I wouldn't be surprised if Martial starts over Greenwood. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if it's the other way around either. Kobe also says, in that case, Matic instead of McTominay. Of course, yeah, if McTominay's rested, then yeah, Matic probably have to come in. Box says 6-0 United. He says, Brighton battered them and had 30 shots on goal, but somehow lost 2-1. If we scored early and clinical, we can get 6. Listen, Liverpool at the start of the season got 7 against them, beat them 7-0. So they've obviously got a little bit of a problem defensively. They have a habit, however, of just pulling out a solid defensive performance. So that's one thing that I'm hoping doesn't happen tonight. I hope that they are as shocking defensively as they have been this whole Premier League season. But I wouldn't be surprised if they have that kind of team spirit, backs against the wall. We've got people missing and we pull out a really good defensive display. And if they do that, I think we're kind of screwed, because I don't think recently we've been clinical enough. So if we continue that trend, I don't think we're going to score enough goals to beat them. But as you said, if we are clinical, I think we can blow teams away, and especially Crystal Palace. Daz's predicted lineup, he goes with David De Gea, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Flop, Fridge, Shaw, Fred, Matic, Rashi, Greenwood, Bruno, and James. I think that's probably a fair enough prediction. I think obviously Rashford, Greenwood, Bruno Fernandes, and Daniel James as the front four, or not really a front four, but a 4-2-3-1. I'm guessing that is. I think obviously Daniel James again's appeared in the lineup. I think, Daniel James, fair play to him. The fact he is getting to a lot of our predicted lineups suggests that he has been playing well recently. Obviously, you've got Fred and Matic, and I think some people aren't going to like that, especially from what we've seen of Fred and Matic before in previous games. But what other option do we have? Obviously, we could play a bit more attacking and put, Fred and Van der Beek, or Matic and Van der Beek. But I think Ollie, if we are going to predict it, realistically, isn't going to play Van der Beek because he just doesn't like him. I don't know what it is. Mr. Bobba Django, thanks for joining, mate. Appreciate it. He says, hey guys, I'm expecting a tough game, so going to go 1-0 United, hoping Ollie's game of Angry Birds ends early so he can use all his subs tonight. Yeah, I think that was the one thing against Chelsea that I had to, call out from Ollie, was the lack of substitutions. And I know we had a few injuries. Obviously, Cavani's not sitting there, so you can't bring him on. We had a few injuries, but realistically, it wasn't working in that game. Something just wasn't right. And, we didn't see a change to the 85th minute. And I didn't really know. I didn't really know why that was. So, that's one thing I've got to, I had to say. I had to call out Ollie for. And we have been saying this throughout the season, really, that, Ollie does seem a little bit sub-shy. He does seem to bring players on a little bit too late in games. So that's something that we need to rectify, really. People level him that he doesn't have tactics and he hasn't got the kind of tactical nous that other managers have in the Premier League. And to be fair, one thing that I would agree on is the substitutions. I think that's a big thing. So you make a good point, Mr. Bobba Django. Owens 11 is Hendo, Wan-Bissaka, Bai, Mags, Shaw, Fred, Bruno, Matic, Greenwood, Martial, and Amad Traore. Wow, that is a big shout for Traore to start. I don't think it's going to happen, but I love the shout. I do like the shout. I like the wishful thinking there, to be fair. We saw him a little bit against Sociedad in the second leg, and he looked alright. He did look alright, so he's going to need to have that game time sooner rather than later. The AC Milan game, what a game for him to potentially start in. A game potentially at the San Siro or wherever he's playing, or whether we're going to play these games. It's a big tie. It's a massive, massive tie. So, hopefully get some game time in the Europa League, even if it is as a sub, to play against the likes of AC Milan. He needs that sort of experience. So Amad Diallo coming in, I don't know. But apart from that, I think that lineup is pretty sound. Although you have snuck in Henderson at goalkeeper. I've seen you just about snuck him in there. As I said, I think he will go back to De Gea. I think he will go back to him. Whether you like that or not. Box says, apparently out of Ollie's 85 league games, we've only lost 15. For some reason, I thought we would have lost more. 15 out of 85 looks very good on paper. It does. It does. Ollie actually has probably the best win record or win ratio out of all the managers since Sir Alex Ferguson, no? Or maybe Mourinho's got more, actually. But he's certainly got a high win ratio, or win percentage as United manager. I think one thing that people would say is there's quite a lot of draws in there. There are quite a lot of draws in there. But, fair play to him. He has... I think for me, it's harsh to say there hasn't been any sort of progress. I know people are looking at Man City going, why are we happy with the football we're playing when Man City once again are running away from the title, running away with the title? So I think that is one thing that you could definitely say, looking at our neighbours, we're still nowhere near that. And you'd expect, really, after a few seasons of rebuilding, that we would be at least, maybe 10 points closer than we were the last few seasons. But, I still think if you look at that statistic, it has to be something to be applauded. It really does, in my opinion. Rich says, I think a lot of people have reacted to some draws like they were defaults, like they were defeats. So the perception of how we're doing looks worse. Well, yeah, listen, I think when you're a big club, when you're a top club going for the big trophies and going for the top of the league and top four, any draw is a bad result, really, in most situations, because most of the time you're drawing against sides that you should have won, or you've played a game where you really should have won the game if you took your chances, but you end up drawing. And obviously, it's frustrating, but then on paper you could say, well, it's only a draw, you haven't lost the game. But there have been times this season, the two big ones that jump out at me are the Leicester draw away from home, the 2-2 draw, and the Everton draw, where you almost snatch a draw from the jaws of victory. Because, we should have won that game. If we took our chances, we would have won that game. And just a bit of a lax or a lack of concentration, a lapse of concentration has cost you 2 points. And I think that's the biggest thing. So I agree. There's been a lot of times we have drawn games and people have gone, that's as good as a defeat. But obviously on paper it isn't. But yeah, that is a good point, I think. Box says, hopefully they flop Daza, but this year the big dogs, Real, Barca, Atletico, Dortmund, Juve, all look a little bit poor. Yeah, I agree. I agree, obviously, talking about whether City are going to win the Champions League. Devastating that we're not going to be in that conversation, but I doubt we would have been in that conversation even if we were in the Champions League, to be honest with you. So, I just don't... I don't want to think about that Leipzig game, to be honest. I don't want to think about it. We're thinking about the Crystal Palace game tonight. Obviously, only... what is it now? Probably just under 3 hours away now, the kickoff at Selhurst Park. Don't worry, I won't be live until the kickoff. I will be ending the stream shortly. But I'm going to give my score prediction. I'm going to give my score prediction ahead of the game. And listen, I think that, as a lot of you guys have said in the live chat, it's not going to be easy. This game is not going to be easy. Crystal Palace have a well-known record, a well-known habit of doing well and frustrating the top six sides, especially at Selhurst Park. And last season, the game we played last season, I think we ended up winning 2-0, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy victory. So again, I don't think it's going to be easy. I do think we're going to win purely because Palace are having to deal with the loss of the likes of Zaha and other very important players. So, the fact that they're dealing with the loss of those players and we are having players coming back from injury, I think we're going to have that boost, and I think it's just going to be able to push us over the line. But we have to be clinical. There's no room for error, really, in terms of what we do in front of goal. You saw what happened to Brighton. We can't let the same thing happen to us, where we have loads of shots on goal, we're not clinical enough, and then Crystal Palace nick a goal, and then all of a sudden we're staring down the barrel of a loss. So we need to deliver in front of goal. Simple as that. We need to deliver. So I'm going to go with a 3-1 win to Manchester United. I believe he will deliver, but I'm going to say it's not going to be convincing, because every time I do, it usually isn't convincing. So I'm going to say a 3-1 win, but it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. Maybe the last 2 goals will be scored fairly late on. And Naveen, thanks for joining, Naveen. Appreciate it. Always good to see you, mate. He says this team has to deliver one trophy. I think a lot of United fans I've been talking to and I've been on streams with have said that one of their main expectations for Ole this season, or for the rest of this season, is that we do win a trophy. And I think after last season, when we finished third, and really at the halfway mark, third was above the expectations we all thought was going to happen. We all said that, that's all well and good finishing the top 4. But Man United was built on trophies. It was built on winning trophies. And we need to do that. We need to deliver that. And obviously we've got a chance in the FA Cup. We're still in that. We've got a chance in the Europa League as well. So we have got chances to do it. And for me, the biggest thing is getting over that hurdle of the bloody semi-final. If we can get over that hurdle, that'll be a big psychological boost. So hopefully we do that, and I believe we will, because it's just got to happen at one point. It has to happen. Box says Europa League our best chance of silverware. Yeah, I think if you look at the teams in the Europa League, I would say though that if you actually do look at teams left in the Europa League, there's no easy game. or at least there's not many easy games left. So it's not going to be simple. It's not like going to be how it was back in 2016-17, where we pretty well strolled our way to the final against teams that were just terrible. And then we played a very young Ajax side who, if we played the Ajax side of the next 2 years, we would have struggled. But actually, if you look at the team we faced, it was very, very young, very inexperienced. And when you've got Mourinho and you've got the likes of Pogba, Mkhitaryan on your side, at that point, we were always going to win that game. So I think Europa League's a big chance of silverware. It really is. Dada said, if we concede the first goal, they'll just sit back all game and we'll be like, God, here we go again. Exactly that. We need to be clinical, and I think scoring the opening goal is a massive thing. If we do get the early goal, it just means they can't just sit back and allow us to come forward. If you get the early goal, their heads are going to go down, and then we can build on that. We can build around that. So we need to be clinical. We need to create chances, and I believe we will. Box says, the FA Cup could be key, could be one of our chances to stop City winning the treble or quadruple. Imagine an FA Cup final versus City, yeah. Imagine they've already wrapped up the league, and we're the last hurdle to stop them doing from a domestic double or treble. I don't even want to think about that. Naveen says 2-0 United, need to keep an eye on Zaha. He always plays like Ronaldo against us. Naveen, the good thing for you is that Zaha is not going to be fit for this game, or at least I don't think he is, unless Roy Hodgson has played a mad mind game. I don't think Zaha is going to be fit. So I don't think we're going to have to get past Zaha. I don't think we need to worry about him tonight, because I don't think he's playing. Again, that's just a bit... It could be absolute mind games, it could be, but I don't think we're going to have to play him, which is a great relief to me. And Dazza says we won't beat City in a hurry. Especially the way we're playing now, I don't think we will, because against City, last season, the key to beating them was being clinical. In the first kind of half an hour, we could have been 2 or 3-0 up, and we were 2-0 up. And that shook City, because it meant they had to change their whole game plan, they had to come out, and... that's the sort of thing that, you need to do to win. You need to execute all of your plans and be so clinical in front of goal. And the one thing that worries me is the fact that we're not. Really, we're not. I'm hoping that Zaha isn't playing. That's what I've heard from a lot of people. So I'm hoping that that's true, and as I said, I'm hoping that's not just mind games from Roy Hodgson. We've seen this sort of thing before when people have been like, oh, he's out, he's not playing. All of a sudden you see him on the starting 11, you're thinking, oh my God. So hopefully that isn't just a rumour, it is definitely true that Zaha won't be playing. Obviously I don't wish injury on anyone, but obviously it's a plus for us that Zaha isn't playing. Mr. Bobajango says, I'm concerned we won't ever close the gap with the counter philosophy. The last team to win the title like that was Leicester in a poor team Premier. Football has changed and it's not sustainable anymore. Yeah, listen, I think you do have to dominate games a lot more. I think the one thing I noticed from last season was that, yes, we were beating the big teams, but if you've only got a philosophy of counter-attacking football, when you do play the likes of Crystal Palaces or the Aston Villas of this world, or any team in the bottom 10 who do like to defend really resolutely, you struggle, because when you can't play counter-attacking football, you have no creativity. We've seen that this season, where when teams sit back and let us have the ball and defend really well, we end up coming away with maybe only scoring one goal in the game, or kind of not scoring at all. And it's really, really frustrating to watch as a United fan. You do need to be a lot more dominating on the ball. You do need to create more chances, and hopefully we can do that. I think that's when having the likes of Pogba and Bruno Fernandes as a midfield too really does help you, because you've got two players there who can create even when it's very difficult to. So that's something that we've got to look at, and hopefully that doesn't happen tonight. Box says Bruno hat-trick and he leapfrogs Salah in the Golden Boot race. And he's a midfielder. Mad. Absolutely mad. I mean, fair play to the lad. I know people say he only scores pens, but, it's getting a bit boring, that, to be honest. It is getting a bit boring. But, I want rival fans to keep hating as much as possible. I really do, because the fact that rival fans are hating on him suggests that he's a threat. You don't hate on players that aren't a threat. Bruno Fernandes is a threat, realistically. Classic. What's ET's favourite year? 1983. Fantastic work that. And by the way, Dazza, hopefully, I saw obviously that you're recovering from your asthma attack or whatever it was, but yeah, hopefully you're doing better now, and obviously we wish you a great and speedy recovery, and yeah, hopefully the streams come back because they're always very, very enjoyable. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, Daz, appreciate it, and yeah, hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully you'll be fully recovered in no time. Box says, to be fair, we have deserved a few in recent weeks, but refs are going against us. Yeah, we have. Realistically, I mean, it's one of those things where that Chelsea one, the fact that the Atwell literally said, and I mentioned it in the Chelsea review, he literally said that we couldn't give the penalty because they're worried about the backlash that it might cause. I mean, have you heard such drivel in your life? Such drivel. But anyway, I don't want to rant about that. That is gone now. It's gone now. I'm not going to rant about it. Naveen says Cavani is back. Yeah, that's a big plus for me. I think, the fact we have been very loose in front of goal, we've been pretty poor in front of goal, really. I think one of the main reasons for that is that, Cavani's not playing, because I think that even though we've seen from previous seasons that Martial and Rashford can be, good in front of goal, Greenwood even as well can be good in front of goal. I think Cavani, being that number 9, being that cultured centre forward, and having the experience of being there and done it, I think it really does help us. And I want to see Cavani back in that team. I want to see him back in that team tonight. But if he isn't fully fit, then I think probably starting him from the bench is the best option. I really am against, and I want to get this across, I really am against playing players who have got a knock. Unless that player is just so important that they're better than a fit player that we've got, there's no point in risking players like that. So if Cavani's still carrying an injury, bring him from the bench. But if he isn't, if he's 100% fit, play him from the start. Naveen says, look at Australian Football League. They're allowing VAR discussions to be heard by everyone on TV. Exactly. That's the way it should be. Even in rugby, I was watching a bit of the Six Nations, and it's actually perfect the way that the referees speak to the players. You can hear what they're saying to the players, and everyone in the stands can hear what the referee's saying as well. So it's perfect. It really is. Richard's going to have to head off. Great stream from what I can see from the comments. Thanks for joining, Rich. Appreciate it, mate. Thanks for tuning in. Always good to hear from you. Make sure to check out Rich Sports and also Daz's Football Stand if you haven't already. He has one last point. The ref needs to be audible like the US sports and rugby. Exactly. Great minds think alike. But yeah, cheers for coming on, Rich. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. But I'm going to probably end it here as well. I think we've covered most of the bases. As I said, a 3-1 United win tonight. Hopefully that happens. And hopefully most of your predictions, I saw there's a few 0-0 predictions, so hopefully that's wrong. But a 3-1 win to United, I'm going for. But guys, until the end of the game, thank you very much for watching. Really do appreciate it. Hit that like button as well if you haven't already, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. We are edging closer to 870 subscribers, so anything you guys can do to help us out with that would be absolutely brilliant. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in a bit, really. Cheers.